Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Scott Burns. Scott, how are you?
I am fine. Thank you for this interview opportunity. Am I supposed to be
Well, we're
reading
glad that
this?
you're here.
Okay, thank you.
Um, we're just going to jump right in.
Good.
What do you see is the purpose of a demo in 2024?
Oh, well, the same as it's been since 2014 and beyond is to showcase one's versatility and talents and performance techniques in commercials, narration, or character, uh, of how they would sound on that person's project. Primarily, I hope that that's a succinct answer.
Yeah, absolutely. How long have you been producing demos?
Wow. Okay. Well, the Earth was a molten piece of lava. Uh, No, actually, my the very first agent I had knew that I was working at a multimedia company, production company, and asked that I would assemble all of the people on her roster's talent reels into one because then that's when they would send them to area agencies and stuff like that. And here's a showcase of a roster talent. Well, in those days too, demos could run the length of like 4 minutes. This was in the
Right.
early 80s. So my job was to condense everybody's demo down to about, I think it was a minute length then. Uh, and and we separated. This was leader tape. It was analog. So I did that was so that was the first introduction to editing voice demos. But in the process, a lot of those actors, excuse me, would come to me and later say, "Hey, can you help me? I want to refresh this or build this and all that kind of stuff." So that was my first foray into demo production. And excuse me, I would do that throughout the years, just with friends and colleagues and things like that. And it wasn't until 2008 that I really began doing it full time. Uh, I was working for an ad agency now, and a woman named Barbara Ray, who had been an agent in Seattle years before, now was retired, but had her own company producing. It was creative talent development. So if you're an actor or on camera or voice and just starting out, she would help you with your career. And she had person leading her on camera classes and then another person doing her voiceover. Well, that person got a job at Pure Audio as a studio manager and didn't want to, spend her evenings working with voice talent. So she, do it for real. So uh, Barbara had asked around who might take over that. And my name was mentioned, and we met. And at the time, I thought, oh, I don't want to be those who can't do teach. That old adage. And I know it's bad to think that, but it was kind of like, am I washed up? Is this what it's going to be? But she goes, well, but you're a working actor. And I said, yes, okay. And as I looked around the room, I thought, some of these people might need demos. So I thought, okay, I will give it a shot and see if I like it. And I turned out loving it because it's really just directing, and which is what I was doing in my capacity as the audio production manager. And I got to meet some great people and to work with them and develop them. And we worked out of this funky little studio in the middle of nowhere, and but they had like a grand piano, and it looked like it could have been a boat repair shop. I think it was disguised on purpose so that it wouldn't be robbed.
Right.
Uh, but it was great. He had a little, had an engineer, and so we got to go through the paces of what it's like to be in the booth. And eventually Barbara retired from that, and I just kind of kept it going. And here I am. I'm started doing Zoom coaching even before the pandemic, and then of course the pandemic just blew everything up, and it became a really intense moment and stuff. But anyway, that's how I got into producing demos on a pretty regular basis.
Very cool. Are there genres that you focus on more than others?
Everybody wants to do character animation, which I love. I love doing that, but primarily it's commercial work. I guess equally commercial narration and characters. Commercial, of
Okay.
course, the primary one. And but yeah, that's those three. Those are the top three.
Okay, so you do coaching.
Yes, yeah, and uh, yeah, and again through Zoom, and that's worked out really well. I've had clients in Australia. I have Spain, and not so much locally here in Las Vegas, but in Seattle still, of course, and pretty much around the country. It's been really great and a great way to meet people. And yeah, you don't need a fancy setup for coaching. You know,
Right.
just your Zoom computer and away you go.
Do you require coaching before you'll produce a demo for someone?
Well, it's first of coaching from me
Well,
or
that's kind of the question. Like, is that part of your process? Or will you send them to somebody else if you think they need some coaching?
I
Or,
think, definitely they have to have, they have to have some training before I'll even consider opening up the demo box. They don't have to coach through me. I mean, obviously I would like to, and if they do come to me, then they fall in love, of course, and so we're going to place else. But and I do recommend that people seek coaches from other people because there's all these different perspectives and experiences that these people have, and yeah, get as much as you can, and then come and let's talk about a demo. But now, if they have prior acting experience, for if they've done on camera or theater work, but have never really dipped into coaching or into voiceover yet, I do like to have at least a session or two before just to run them through the paces because it's totally different. Theater
Mhm.
actors, oh, you're an actor, great, you can do this. It's a different skill set and I found that theater actors still love talking to the back of the room, and they're very broad and they talk it's like, we got to fit this down into a 30. So there is an adjustment, much like an on-camera actor experiences. If they've come from theater, now your camera is your close-up, and all your acting is pretty much through your eyebrows. So there's different skill sets and techniques and working with the microphone and all that. So yes, in answer to your question, my long way around it is they must have some coaching or training, uh, because even if they're a natural talent, and there are some people, but they still have to know how to work the industry and work once they have their demo, they're going to have to know how to use it. So yes
Right.
to coaching, yes.
Okay. Um, when you are producing a demo, do you use custom scripts? Do you write them yourself? How do you choose
I
those?
have Okay, so in the starting out, how did we do this? I'll start from now and go backwards. I have a friend who's a very talented voice actor himself. He is David Scully, and he's a writer by trade. So he writes for REI. He writes for he's a contract independent writer, and writes fantastic copy. So I approached him when people would come to me and say, "Hey, what about you crafting these scripts for these people here?" And his they're so good. Are you familiar with Pat Fraley?
Yes.
Pat Fraley. So I have all my Pat Fraley stories go way back in the past too. But anyway, Pat, one of my clients had Pat listen to a demo for his opinion, and it was a demo that was written by David Scully. Pat's comment was, that spot was so good, I wanted to hear where it was going. He goes, I was kind of upset that it cut off because it was so intriguing. And he goes, that's what you want. Because your audience are creative directors and writers and producers who fancy themselves pretty clever. He goes, if you can capture them, not just the voice, but with the writing and keep their finger off the next button, that's something. So now David would write these great scripts, really long scripts, but we found that it was hard to edit them down into a 13, 12 second. Can we have a beginning and a middle and an end here? Because the arc, here's the setup, here's this and that, but the punchline were so good, you'd want to get that in. So we did craft it. He will send me a draft of the full length and say, oh man, you're right on track with this. This is so good. Now can you condense it down? And so yeah, yes to the custom. David has always charged. I mean, I charge extra on top of that. That's independent of what I charge. And David has
Okay.
wanted to send me commission money, and I said I don't want that because I don't want to make it look like I'm trying to, hey, use this guy, that kind of thing. Um, so it is an additional charge on top of my demo production, which we'll get to the cost of demo production here later. But that's been great. When in the event that people don't want to opt for the customized script, then yes, I'll go through existing copy that I have. I've accumulated a lot over the years, and but we'll readjust those and move them around and make them unrecognizable to the original as much as we
Okay.
can. That's
And aside from David writing copy, do you have a team that you work with, or are you the full production team yourself?
I'm it. I mean, with yeah. In addition, when I considered David part of the team on that one, but yeah, I direct, record, engineer, and produce the whole thing.
Okay. Um, Now, if a talent comes to you and they've already got a demo or they've already recorded just the voice part of it, can they come to you for the rest of the production?
Yes, yes. It depends. Now, when you say about the partial recorded, you mean it like if they just have the voice track?
Yeah.
I'll listen to it and determine was there a good read there. I mean, if it was spectacular, then sure. If you just want me to add music and production elements to it, I can do that. Uh, Generally, I'm going to hear stuff that I would like to hear them do, or maybe elevate a little bit or back off on this part. So I might suggest that we just go ahead and re-record it. But if they do have a pre-produced spot, say that was on their existing reel that they really like, and if it's current, if it's still kind of happening now in terms of style and believability or whatever, then yeah, we can weave that one in uh, pretty easy, I would hope.
All right. And you have a set cost structure for
Oh,
what you do.
I I I have a flat rate of $2,300, which I
Okay.
know sounds expensive to people who are just. I mean, there's a sticker shock. I've when I first started out, I asked my agent. I said, "What do you think you charge people for these anymore these days?" Because when I first started out, it was like, "Hey, $200." That's cool. And my agent then said, I think 800, 850, the market would bear that. And I thought, okay, we'll go with that. This is like 2009 era. And I kept that for a while. And then I found out what other people were charging in LA and et cetera. And I think my skills are on par, and my experience level is on par with that. So I kind of reluctantly, I did raise my rate up, uh, and had to get over that the imposter syndrome of of being comfortable to say here's what the charge is and this and be quiet. And most people are on board with that because there is a lot of elements that go into making it, and I think it averages out to about $60 an hour. I've done the math on each project, and it's like, and that's what a commercial audio producer charges, pretty much
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, so I forget your original question here, Jen.
No, that was it. Cost.
Okay, all right. We'll chalk one up for amnesia. There we go.
So that brings me to my final question. Why is somebody going to choose to work with Scott Burns?
Well, look at this. No, um, I would. Okay, well, I have pride of ownership. I really care about how my productions are out there because my name's on them. So I'm not going to do. I don't cut corners. I have the experience level, and then some of producing and working both sides of the glass for all these years. On the producer, the director, and all that, but also having been a voice talent and so I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on what the process is, what they're looking for, and what they're hoping to hear, and how to give it to them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today.